and what is just a figment of your own imagination? What if I told you that I'm not really standing here and that you're not really sitting at your desk? Well, most of you would call me a liar. Why? Because most of us have the ability to differentiate between reality and imagination, but people with schizophrenia cannot. As a psychology major, I have spent hours researching and analyzing the detrimental effects that schizophrenia has on a person. Schizophrenia is a severe, detrimental, and debilitating brain disorder. I will be introducing you to schizophrenia in the medical aspect, not the glamorized Hollywood version, and together we will explore the reach, symptoms, and subtypes of this brain disorder. For the most part, unless we know someone with schizophrenia, we tend to think of schizophrenia as this far-off and irrelevant concept that has nothing to do with us. Well, I have news for you. Schizophrenia has a far and unpredictable reach. Everyone is potentially at risk of developing schizophrenia during their lifetime. It is unpredictable in the fact that there are no predictors of schizophrenia. Neither doctors nor scientists can accurately predict who will become schizophrenic. As noted by Diane G-Man in her 2012 article, Seeing Through the Eyes of Schizophrenia, approximately 1% of the population develops schizophrenia during their lifetime. To put this into perspective, 2 million Americans suffer from schizophrenia in any given year, and this percentage applies to both men and women because schizophrenia strikes men and women in equal proportion. The cause of schizophrenia is largely unknown. Although it was first identified and described by a psychiatrist in the 1890s, schizophrenia remains one of the most mysterious of the mental illnesses. Although it is not exactly known what causes schizophrenia, there is one prominent theory. As described by psychiatrists Begley, Springen, and Gesselman in their 2012 article, The Schizophrenic Mind, it is largely believed that schizophrenia is caused when neurons take a wrong turn during fetal development. Although schizophrenia is thought to be developed during fetal development, it is unknown as to why schizophrenia waits to strike until the cusp of adulthood, with the average age of onset being 18 for men and 25 for women. Now that we have come to terms with the fact that schizophrenia is completely unpredictable and can essentially affect any one of us, we can explore the effects that schizophrenia has on those that actually suffer from it. The symptoms of schizophrenia vary from person to person, and symptoms are classified as either positive or negative. Positive symptoms can be best described as the addition of behaviors that would normally not be present, as explained by psychologists Brown and Prinstein in their 2011 article, Schizophrenia. Positive symptoms refer to the presence of unusual or distorted perceptions and thought processes that are not present in most people. Hallucinations, delusions, and confused thought and speech are all examples of positive symptoms. These types of symptoms make it difficult for individuals with schizophrenia to differentiate between reality and imagination. The voices inside their heads are as real to them as this classroom. An example of how severe this can become for a schizophrenic can be best described by the case of Andrea Yates. In 2001, Andrea Yates confessed to killing her 5 children by drowning them one by one in a bathtub. She claimed she did it because she heard Satan's voice telling her to hurt her babies. Negative symptoms can be just as harmful. Negative symptoms can be best described as the regression or elimination of behaviors that would be present. As also noted by Brown and Prinstein, negative symptoms involve the absence or recession of normal function in any areas of daily living. Social withdrawal, loss of motivation, and lack of emotion are all examples of negative symptoms. These types of symptoms make it difficult for people with schizophrenia to become productive members of society, and many are unable to cope with their daily lives. Schizophrenia has symptoms that vary from person to person, but it also has different subtypes. Schizophrenia can manifest itself in different ways. There are 4 major types of schizophrenia: paranoid, disorganized, catatonic, and undifferentiated. Paranoid schizophrenia and catatonic schizophrenia have specific and apparent characteristics that make them easier to identify. Paranoid schizophrenia is centered around irrational paranoia. As stated by physicians Cross, Limmer, and Bryans in their 2009 article, In Two Minds, it is characterized by the presence of auditory hallucinations or prominent delusional thoughts about persecution or conspiracy. People that suffer from this type of schizophrenia believe that everyone is out to get them. Catatonic schizophrenia involves disturbances in movement. They can experience such a dramatic decrease in activity that all voluntary movement actually stops. A catatonic schizophrenic can stay in unusual positions that may seem uncomfortable to us for several hours or until someone else moves them. On the other hand, they can also experience an increase in activity that leads to constant movement. Both cases would make living a daily productive life almost impossible. Undifferentiated schizophrenia and disorganized schizophrenia are the other two major types of schizophrenia. Undifferentiated schizophrenia is diagnosed when symptoms aren't specific enough to permit classification into one of the other subtypes. Disorganized schizophrenia is diagnosed when there is a disorganization of thought processing. Someone who has this would have a significant impairment in their ability to communicate because they would have problems with the use and organization of words in conversational sentences. Today, we have the opportunity to catch a glimpse into the life that people with schizophrenia have to deal with on a daily basis. Schizophrenia is unpredictable. Almost anyone can be diagnosed at some point, and the symptoms and subtypes vary from person to person. Schizophrenia is severe, and it is chronic, but many individuals with schizophrenia can learn to lead normal lives and cope with this illness with the help of medications, therapy, and supportive family and friends. They can form their own unique reality. Reality is perception, and perception is reality, but sometimes our reality is nothing more than a lie made up by our own minds.